Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Jazakallah Musa. Respected elders, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it is a privilege and an honor for me to welcome you to this afternoon's lecture by Ahmad Deidat, entitled What is Wisdom? Mr. Deidat, as most of you will agree, is no stranger to us all. He is a very prominent speaker. He is well known locally as well as internationally. He's also an author of several publications, including The Choice, which is available at the door. My name is Isa Conning, and I happen to be one of the many, many souls who have been guided to the path of Islam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the works of Mr. Ahmad Deidat. In the short period of time that I have known him, I have come to love and respect him more like an uncle or a grandfather. The knowledge that I have gained through Mr. Deidat, I do believe to be invaluable. The fact that Mr. Deidat is simultaneously loved and hated in many circles is not something which surprises me. Most every person who has stood up for truth and spoken out against falsehood throughout history has inevitably found himself in this position. Nevertheless, it does sadden me to see it enacted before my very eyes. Before I do call upon Mr. Deidat to deliver his lecture, I would like to share with you these few words. To all those who are sincerely seeking truth, a sincere search for truth has to be one which is objective and free of any kind of prejudice. One has to be willing to drop the crutches of flippancy and prejudice and be willing to first analyze one's own belief. This lecture, like the many others by Mr. Deidat, is aimed at this specific group of people, those who are sincerely seeking the Sirat al-Mustaqim. As to those who prefer the comfort of prejudice, this will probably only increase that disease. Nevertheless, if only one person benefits from this lecture, then I do believe our efforts, inshallah, are not in vain. At the end of the lecture, you will be availed of the opportunity of putting questions to Mr. Deidat. There are a few rules, but I will notify you further at the time. Jazakallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين صدق الله العظيم. My dear brethren, this ayah I read to you, I first learned it about 45 years ago. About 45 years ago, me with some other friends, like-minded people, had attended a lecture in the Pine Street Madrasa Hall. And the lecturer suggested that if you, telling the audience, if you memorize half a dozen different verses from the Quran, with their meaning, you will shine in any gathering. Wherever you are, Allah's kalam acts as an ornament, it acts as a weapon of attack and defense. From every point of view, different verses, just memorize them and it will hold you in good stead. I and a friend, Mr. Suleiman Seth, he passed away. He had a shop in 144 Queen Street. We are now in 124 ITCI. He was at 144 Queen Street. We came to an agreement. I said, Suleiman, if you come across an ayah that tickles you, write it down and give it to me. Same thing, if I come across an ayah that tickles me, I get fascinated with it. I want to play with it. I will write it and give it to you. You memorize that and I will memorize what you give me. That's a game we are going to play now. Memorizing verses. So this verse I read to you is the first verse he wrote and gave it to me about 45 years ago on a piece of paper, and I memorized it. And we made this as a logo on the ITCI letterhead. So invite all to the ways of the Lord with wisdom and with beautiful preaching. we made that a logo on the ITCI letter, even today. It's there. So, and this verse is so common. Our Muslim brothers, they know this word, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati. And they're always using this, not to teach people how to do dawah with hikmah, but trying to correct the person. This morning, I was at the Felicia Mabuzo show. I was a participant there. While going before going on to the stage, two Muslim brothers, they quoted me this, hikmat se kaam lena, bil hikmati. You know what's the message? In other words, the guy is saying, don't, he says, don't, spoil the show.